The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
So welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today we have Dean Miskic. Now, since 2015, Dean has been dedicated to helping people navigate their real estate journeys as a broker with the Lofton Manor home team at EXP Realty in Southwest Florida. He is known for his professional, responsive and attentive approach, and Dean focuses on providing exceptional service to both home buyers and sellers. So if you're looking for an agent who truly listens to your needs and knows how to effectively market your home, Dean is your go-to guy. So let's dive into his journey and his insights. So welcome to the show, Dean.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So first of all, just would you like to share what sparked your interest in real estate and how did you decide to make it your career?
I started off in 2015 after I was going through different jobs that I just wasn't passionate about. But I think one of the reasons I got into real estate was seeing my own parents get into real estate as soon as we came into the country in 1998. You know, they bought their first house maybe a year after we were here, and this was up in New York. We actually lived in New York. They got the house for like $30,000. You know, nowadays you can't get anything for $30,000. But I just remember, you know, how hard they worked to get a house and how much money it saved them by not having to pay the rent. You know, owning was actually less expensive than it was on renting a place. Plus, there's a joy of owning something and building equity and the appreciation of the real estate. And of course, we ended up doing a lot of work to the property. You know, 8 years later, we ended up selling it for almost 3 times that amount. And then they repeated the process, bought another house. They made it, you know, updated it with love, you know, the way they wanted it. And then, you know, they, a couple of years later, found another house and sold that one. And each time they made money on it. And I was like, I like that process. But I never could see myself really getting into real estate. I went to school for business administration. I thought of myself, you know, as being one of those corporate guys, you know, having one of those cushy 8 to 5 jobs or 9 to 5 jobs, you know, with a traditional work schedule. But once I got into working corporate, it wasn't for me. I just realized that my work didn't stop after I got home. I was always anxious to do other things. I always had like a side gig. And it wasn't until I met a friend in 2014 who was a realtor, and he kind of talked to me a little bit more about it. And that's when I decided to get my license and get into it. And I haven't looked back since. Now, it hasn't been easy by any means. There's a lot of failure in this business. A lot of agents don't make it after the first year, actually. And the first 2 years, I was actually only part-time in this business. I was ready to give up. And then I met another person that would end up changing, you know, the trajectory of my business. And all it takes is one person to kind of take you under the wing, give you the support that you need, and for you to be able to really, you know, take off and understand where you're going. So ever since, you know, my business has just been better and better every year. I've been able to meet a lot more people, help people with their real estate needs. And it's been a very fun journey. And there's just so much to learn. And the best part about it is the people you get to meet and the relationships you get to build out of it.
Oh, 100%. Love that. So can you share a defining moment in your early career that really solidified your passion for helping people find their homes? I mean, you watched your parents do it, but was there any other defining moment that sparked that passion?
Absolutely. So buying a house is a pretty big deal. In most cases, it's one of the biggest investment a person is going to make in their lifetime. Once you buy the house, the real estate will appreciate over time. Historically, it's always appreciated. But there's a lot of people, and I came to this country as an immigrant, as a refugee. So I remember people helping us with just basic paperwork just to get medical or to get dental or to buy a house. And I remember how important it was for them to have people like that to help us. So I remember my third year of the business, the third year really was my defining year. That year I gave it was kind of my last shot to see if I could really make this into a career. And I went into a full-time again. The job I had before that, I actually burned the bridge with that job on purpose. So I did not have the option to go back because I really wanted to give it my 100%. And that year, this was in 2018, that year I ended up selling about 45 homes. So I helped 45 families, get a key to a house. And I'm still in touch with those family members. That's what's great about it. I know I've changed lives. And one thing that I really dedicated myself early on was being really patient with people and I never really focused on the sale. I always wanted to make sure I really focused on understanding what people's needs are and put them in the right property. There's no pushing with this. When you're buying a house, you're not selling a house. What you're doing is you're matchmaking people. You're understanding to their needs. You're understanding what they're looking for, and you're trying to find them the right property. But it doesn't end there. Once you find in the property, there's a due diligence period now that you have to go through to make sure people are buying something that's not going to have issues. You got to go through the inspections. You got to negotiate certain things. So throughout this whole process, I'm holding their hand, making sure they're still making a good decision. I've had situations where people went on the contract. We did the inspection. We found things that we were not aware. I told those people, run away from this house, run away, But if they didn't do their due diligence, they could have been, but they could have bought this house and really ran into a lot of issues after the fact. And so just having somebody that's going to guide them throughout the process to make sure they're making educational decisions, the right decisions. That way they're not faced with any liabilities down the road. And that way you can also have a good experience of living in the house.
Yeah, 100%. So with regards to, and you mentioned this earlier, that it really is about building relationships. You mentioned there that you're not just focused on the sale, on the actual transaction, but it is about building these. So how has your experience being in this industry shaped your approach to client relationships and the service?
Changed over the years. My mentality when I first got into the business was I had no clue what I was really doing. So I was trying to go by the book, saying things that I thought were correct because I thought that was the right thing to say, because you're going by the book. Again, I've come from a corporate side. And so everything has to be approved. Everything has to be discussed ahead of time. So once I realized that in my third year, hey, I can really be myself in this business and I can really do what's best for the client. And, that's when my mindset completely shifted. I was like, I like this. I like the idea of working when I want to work, putting as much effort as I want into it, and not having a cap on my income. That was the other thing that I really liked. And the way that works is, the more people you help, the more money you can make as well. So not only was it helping other people accomplish their dream of home ownership, but also I was having a very fulfilling life doing this, helping my family as well. So you help one family, your family gets helped in return, so that you get both sides of the joy of that.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any unique insights, or any advice to newbies in the industry? What tips or strategies would you give them for first starting out?
For new agents going into business or new buyers?
For people coming into the business, for new realtors.
Into the business. Don't rush the business. You can't force people to buy anything. All you can do is really let people know you're an agent. Okay. Don't be a secret agent. I've heard stories, and I've been in the same situation where my neighbor or a close friend buys a house and it didn't go through you. And it hurts, because you're an independent contractor. You're 100% commission. So your job is to make sure also that people know that you're an agent. So put yourself out there and talk to as many people as you can, help as many people as you can. Once you start getting in the groove and you sell a couple of houses, next thing you know, you're getting referrals. Once you're in the business for a couple of years, also those referrals and those sales that you made, they end up coming back to you. Now it's time for them to upgrade or downgrade, or maybe they just want to move to a different state. And then when people are also looking for just advice, you got to be the go-to agent for that. Not just during the sale, but after the sale as well. Your relationship with them does not stop after the sale. You got to touch base with them, stay in touch with them, show them that you care, show them that you're still there for them and that you're the neighborhood expert when it comes to real estate, and they can count on you. That part is extremely important, and you really got to put yourself out there. The majority of buyers right now, before they even give you an opportunity to work with you, they will Google your name. So if you're not coming up on Google under as an agent, and if you're not showing consistency in your social media of what you do for a living, people are not going to take you serious. So at the end of the day, you are your own business. You are the brand. You got to pretend like you have a storefront, and you got to market it. You got to advertise it. You got to talk about it. You got to be it. So I am constantly out there promoting myself, as a brand on social media. I have a couple different platforms that I work with, but it doesn't end there. You still have a marketing budget. You still gotta figure out ways to generate leads outside of just referrals. So it's not just doing the basic stuff. There's really a lot to it just to stay in this business, but it becomes very interesting because it is your own business.
And there's no glass ceiling. There is no glass ceiling. Fantastic.
That's the best part. The harder you work, the luckier you get. And again, we have a non-traditional work schedule. So my day doesn't start at 9 o'clock. My day starts when I wake up in the morning and when I decide to start responding to people. Sometimes, if I have a prior obligations, I might not be able to reply to them until 11 o'clock or noon, if I have appointments or what it is. But I can't tell you how often I'm working till, 10 o'clock at night. And after COVID, when the market was really crazy, I was writing contracts until midnight, on the phone with my clients, writing contracts to make sure that we meet the deadline so they don't lose out on an opportunity to buy this house. You do whatever it takes, to get your client on the contract as far as your schedule goes. But you're not always like that. You do have full control of your schedule on there. You can easily say no to people. It is your own schedule. And over the years it becomes easier and easier because you have more repeat business. So at the beginning, it's always hard. But if you're persistent and you have consistent items of doing business every single day in and out, eventually you will catch up and the business becomes that much easier.
Brilliant. Great advice. There you go. Tips and strategies from Dean. So you mentioned earlier, you've done 45 transactions in a year. Well, a lot of people that we speak to at the moment, last year was different, right? It was a little bit of a struggle, but how did you do, Dean? How many transactions did you do last year?
Sure. What people forget is no matter what the market is like, there's deals being made every single day. Real estate does not stop. Every single day, no matter what, people are buying and selling real estate. Okay. And if you are taking a break, that's on you. But there's always people out there looking for help. So 2023 was actually one of my best years. I think transaction-wise, it wasn't as much, but my average price went way up, about almost 10 times more than it was when I first got into the business. So
wow.
So I only probably did, I think last year, about 36 or 37 transactions individually, but as a team,
wow.
Yeah, but my average price point was, almost 10 times higher than what it was when I first got into the business. So I didn't have to work as hard to get those transactions, but the reward out of it was 10 times more, you know. And so that's the rewarding part about this business. If you stick with it long enough, if you understand what you're doing, and if you hustle, people are gonna see you and they will reach out to you. And that's the whole point of putting yourself out there, is because I do not like cold calling people. Okay. I am just not that
Mm.
agent. I find it very intrusive because I get cold calls all the time. People try and sell me stuff, and I just hate that. So if you really put yourself out there, people will find you. That's where I get a lot of my business from, is social media, email campaigns. I have a YouTube page dedicated to my real estate as well. I just met an agent that moved down here from Ohio, and she said, "We've been watching your YouTube page, you know, and when it was time to ask some questions, I was the I was the only person she was comfortable with calling and ask for questions of what she should do to get her business up and running down here in Florida." And so, and I love that. I can't tell you how many times people have seen my videos, and the videos are constantly working in the background, even when you're sleeping. So you find different niches that work for you. And again, like podcasting is another one of those things that I absolutely love doing. And I'd like to do more in the future. And they're very popular. So people nowadays, they find ways to get information through podcasts, through social media, versus just turning on the news. So the other thing you got to do is you gotta adapt to what society is doing and to what society is hearing. And right now, people are getting the news from podcasts and social media more than the news.
Oh, all the time now, and it's only going in one direction. So what's next for Dean? What are your goals for next year?
Here, I'm going to continue investing down here in Florida. This market down here where we are I'm in Cape Coral, Florida, actually. And this is such a beautiful city. The city is growing exponentially. And I work with a lot of new construction builders. I work with a lot of buyers who are looking to buy, new construction. We also have a lot of inventory right now with existing homes as well. But what's unique about Cape Coral is we have over 400 miles of canals, which is more than Venice, Italy. So when you're coming to the city, it's such a unique place to live. And when I moved down here initially about 4 years ago from New York, because my first 5 years of my business was up in New York. And then I finally moved. I opened up a second office in Cape Coral, and I haven't looked back. I mean, it's such a beautiful place to live. It's growing. This place has doubled in size just in the last 14 years. So that tells you a lot about this. But it's so unique that for somebody that likes boating, you can buy a house right on the canal, store your boat in your backyard, and from your backyard take your boat out to the Gulf and go swimming, go swimming, go fishing, just be out on the water. And that's something that's very interesting about this place. So I will continue building my team down here in Cape Coral and continue representing buyers and sellers and continue to grow this city because it's just a beautiful place to be and live. And I want everybody to know about it.
And you've got the sunshine, and you've got the sunshine.
Well, let me tell you this. One of the best things about living down here is shorts, flip-flops every single day, you know?
Mm,
And yes, we have some setbacks. Obviously, every state does. Every country has its own issues. Like for example, Florida was hit with two hurricanes alone in this month.
mm,
You know, Thankfully, Cape Coral barely got grazed by any of it. Tampa got hit, and then further up in the Panhandle, and then the first hurricane went all the way up to North Carolina. That they
mm,
got hit really bad. But these are natural disasters we have no control over. But we
mhm.
understand the risks of living in a tropical climate. And I'll tell you, the risks outweigh everything else out there. I enjoy what I do down here, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Brilliant. So our last question, it's always the same because here at Icons, we're not just a podcast. We're not just a podcast production company. We are the number one real estate podcast network. And we're passionate about making podcasting accessible to everybody who's involved in the real estate industry. So if you were to have your own podcast, what would you call it?
Better to the city where I live because I love it so much. I actually have a YouTube channel called Living in Cape Coral with Veldin, Dean Miskic, and I promote this area heavily. And so I probably have a podcast talking about this area and everything that's coming into this area. Call it Living in Cape Coral with Dean.
Perfect. All in alignment. I love that. So if any of the listeners are out there and they're thinking, I'd love to move there, or an agent out there who would like to join your team, how would they get in touch? How do they reach you?
The easiest way to do it is go on my website. All my contact information is on there. It's veldinmiskic.com. You can also find me on Instagram, on Facebook, again on my YouTube page. If you just Google me, there's a way, you're going to find a way to reach me. And I made sure that I'm easily reachable by anybody. You know, I always answer my calls. And for all those agents that are listening out there as well, please pick up your phone calls. Okay. If you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. You know, that's the way you put deals together. Okay. Stop texting back people that are calling you. Pick up your phone calls, answer their questions, put some deals together. Okay. It just drives me nuts. There's so many agents out there that won't even pick up a phone call. That you hear that, you know, hey, an agent hasn't gotten back to me in 3 days. Listen, if you call me, I'm gonna pick up your call. Okay. If I don't pick up your call right away, I'll get back to you probably within an hour. Because sometimes I'm in appointments as well, but it just drives me nuts. So to all those new agents out there as well, just getting into this business, the best advice right there from all of this is pick up the phone call. People are gonna know that you're working.
Brilliant. And all of Dean's details will be provided in the show notes. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And to the listeners, I'll be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate podcast. Bye for now.